Republican Texas Congressman Brian Babin joins me now. Good to see you, sir. Is this just posturing from North Korea, or is this evidence of something more serious?
You know, it's hard to say right now, Liz. Great to be with you today. But, you know, these are exercises that are annual, that have been scheduled for a while. And quite frankly, it's hard to read North Korea. Do I trust North Korea? Do I trust their leader, Kim Jong Un? No, I really don't. And I think if they are serious about denuclearization and some normalization of issues or warming up of issues, let's put it that way, with the United States and the West, I think it's in their absolute best interest to back off from what they are doing now and proceed with these meetings that are planned, because it will be not only in our best interest and the West and world peace, but also absolutely for the North Korean regime.
But the 180 today about this that we're just hearing, sir, is this an indication about instability inside North Korea? North Korea's leader does not want to go the way of Libya's Muammar Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein. I mean, the State Department, to your point, said that the North Korean leader has already told them that he does understand the need for these joint exercises. Your reaction to that?
You know, you look at during the last administration, what happened to Muammar Gaddafi when he gave up his weapons of mass destruction and wound up having his country overthrown because of ineptness and ineptitude and a very poor foreign policy of the last administration. So I don't think you can compare that. It's not apples to apples between Obama and Trump. President Trump is a whole different animal from Barack Obama. And the North Koreans, I think, need to look at him very, very seriously. And these exercises with South Korea, as I said, have been planned for a while. And I think they should proceed with these meetings. Or it could be, I think, the ones to lose here is North Korea.
To your point, and it's an excellent one, the Washington Times has already noted that North Korea's GDP is less than the size of Fairfax, Virginia. Iran's GDP is less than the size of Virginia. The language, though, used is a sudden and dramatic return to the rhetoric of the past from Pyongyang. So I think to your point is well taken, that the president does understand the economic reasons for North Korea to step up to fix its country, again, for that dear leader to fix the country economically. But again, this is a surprise. Were you surprised by this rhetoric now out of North Korea?
You know what? I am surprised, but however, I shouldn't have been surprised. We're dealing with a regime which has decades of instability, you never know what these people are capable of saying or doing. I actually went to the DMZ in Korea, between the two Koreas last year, and it was a very surreal place. And so no, it doesn't surprise me to see these people run hot and cold. But again, this is in North Korea's best interest. As you said, their economy is not exactly on fire, and I think these talks could lead to some normalization that would absolutely help North Korea, and maybe even possibly and potentially lead to the denuclearization of the entire peninsula, and get the North and South working together again, as we've seen it do here in the last few weeks.
Let's get to Iran. The U.S. is tightening again the economic vice on Iran today, hitting the head of Iran's central bank with terror sanctions, accusing him of funneling millions of dollars to the terror group Hezbollah. This, as Democrat socialist Bernie Sanders is calling out the president in an editorial today, saying the president's putting the U.S. on a path to war. Quote, last week, Donald Trump made one of the most reckless moves of his presidency, pulling out of that Iran deal. But then Bernie Sanders does admit, quote, to be clear, Iran is engaged in a lot of bad behavior, including backing dictator Assad's war against the Syrian people, supporting violent terror groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, also human rights abuses inside Iran. Sir, Bernie Sanders doesn't explain how to stop all of that. Instead, he claims, quote, we need to continue to talk with Iran, seek a better relationship with the Iranian people. Does this work? He says he spells out the parade of horribles, sir, but does the talking work?
Absolutely, it does not work. Since 1979, with the overthrow when the Ayatollah came in, and hundreds of our embassy personnel were held hostage for months and months. I was actually stationed in the Air Force in Europe at the time. We've never held the Iranians, we've never held them responsible and accountable for their actions. And we've seen over and over and over again that talking with the Iranian regime does nothing. And look, I'm not taking Bernie Sanders' foreign policy advice very seriously at all.
The British historian, he's a political commentator, Neil Ferguson, out with his editorial saying, you know what, basically to your point, Bernie Sanders is wrong, saying we got nothing from President Obama's Iran deal. Iran merely postpones the acquisition of nukes by 10 years, still develops ballistic missiles, more advanced centrifuges in 7 years. And what did Iran get? It got $150 billion in previously frozen assets to fund terror groups around the world. To your reaction to what Neil Ferguson is saying about Bernie Sanders being wrong?
I agree with him. I think Bernie Sanders is wrong on everything. Quite frankly, I don't think he's got a worldview that matches up with reality. Another thing is that the Iranian regime this does not surprise me at all to find out that they're funneling money to Hezbollah. This is something that everybody surmised that had any common sense whatsoever. And so I agree 100% with what the Trump administration is doing here. We've got to hold their feet to the fire, and we've got to make them accountable for their actions.
But Obama said there would be snapback sanctions when Iran did all of these things. Where are the snapback sanctions that he promised?
We haven't seen them, for several years now, even when Obama was still in office, when they were violating some of the missile provisions and trying to develop medium, long-range missiles. We did not hold them accountable. We had no snapback reactions like we should have, and it's time to hold them accountable. The Iranians are bad actors. They're the biggest terrorist exporter in the entire world today, and I really think that Trump is on the right track, and I applaud him for what he's doing. We've got to hold them accountable for what they're doing.
It's great to see you, Congressman. We love having you on. Please come back soon.